Today, on Be Something Wonderful, shift realities and erase undesirable 3D conditions right now. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Big video today. Lots to talk about. I'm going to talk about some clients that got in touch with me just within 48 hours after their sessions with me, who have seen movement, have what is clearly reality shifts, shifting into a new reality and erasing conditions that they no longer chose. They erased 3D conditions that you could label undesirable, but really they're just conditions or reality that they no longer chose and moved into the new reality. I want to talk about this because we get this question quite a bit, right? How come I haven't manifested what I want? And remember, you like Abraham Hicks says, because I think one of you commented on one of my videos that I talked about wanting versus moving to occupying that reality, right? Staying in a state of wanting and needing versus moving to the reality of occupying it and saying you're already that. So it's not, you don't necessarily get what you want. You get who and what you're conscious of being, always. That's the law, right? So I want to hit this. There's a common theme with all of these, and today we're going to talk. Actually, we're going to show you how this reality shift happens. We're going to talk about one particular client that I talked with yesterday, that she got into a car accident, not a serious one, but there was damage in her car, and how she manifested no damage, no accident, no damage. We're going to talk about how she shifted realities, right? It's big. And then these other clients who just woke up to a few emails this morning of clients that I just talked to, and one subscriber that wrote me about 6 days ago, right? Talking about how the law of assumption changed her whole life and she moved into her whole life. I have put that video here in a reference, but it's on the membership channel. But it's a big video. I'm going to talk about her because she gave it more of an update. In all of these cases, what's the theme? What are they doing? They're asserting, they're not trying to convince their 3D personality they're not trying to convince the 3D personality of anything, right? Your 3D personality, that smaller you will never believe, will never get on board with miracles. So they just leave that 3D you, that 3D personality to sulk in its disbelief, to hang there in the horizontal linear experiencing, making that all that 3D personality sees. Will you go within and know the truer reality? I want to show this. So here's the one. This is a new comment on the channel this morning on one of the older videos. This video, it was called Double Dare Your Higher Self to Manifest Your Desires Now. I left a link in the description, so if you want to view that video, and this comment is also on the channel by this subscriber. This is what this subscriber said. Wow. Hear it. Within 12 hours of double daring God, in other words, double daring your higher self, that higher power, my fiance invited me on a road trip through 3 countries in Europe as my birthday present. I watched the video yesterday. Tonight, I travel to meet him tomorrow. I just got this email, I think last night or yesterday. So she travels to meet him. I have not seen him for 3 months due to work and us living in different countries. They live in different countries. Because of work, they can't see each other. So this is amazing. I'll be spending my birthday with him for a week now. Immediate shift in realities. She says she got it from this double dare your higher self to manifest your desires now. But again, it's that idea that you're moving to your higher authority, your inner authority. You're letting your 3D self sulk in its disbelief, because you'll never get the 3D self on board with miracles like this, right? And then this other subscriber, this is not a subscriber, this is a client that I talked with 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, 2 days ago, I guess. And she was talking about that she needed money. She wasn't making, her salary wasn't quite enough to cover her expenses. She's studying for various degrees. But she's also working at this place. I think she's a scientist. And so she's working at this place as well. And so I told her the money is there. It is there. That she needs to declare that, right? Move to that reality. Shift to that identity. Here's what she says 48 hours later. The money was there. You were right. I woke up this morning to an email that says I'm eligible for a $1.1 thousand grant every month until I get my degrees. So where and here's the thing. Here's how you really know she stepped into that new reality. She stepped into into her inner authority there. Is that amount, that 1.1, exactly matched the shortfall that she needed every month to cover her expenses. Her salary was 2.6, this was 1.1. That's exactly what she needed to cover her monthly expenses. Do you see how powerful that is? So, and then today's video, we're going to talk about this miracle car repair, right? And she definitely shifted realities instantly. So I want to show you something here. Another email from a client that was based on a membership video that I released a few days ago, maybe 6 days ago. And it was called How the Law of Assumption Changed My Entire Life in Just 60 Days. Very powerful video, very powerful metaphysical lesson that she provided. Well, she just sent me an update. Here's what she said. Since I emailed you 6 days ago, a lot has happened. In other words, she's in a new identity. I won $7 million at the casino. I don't know what currency that is, but she won $7 million. I think it's a lot of money, right? My aunt, who needed healing from a tumor, is now perfectly healthy. My dad, who was a regular smoker since age 18, he's now 54, stopped smoking 3 days ago. This is her in an absolutely new identity, new reality. I'm more relaxed and peaceful now because I know I can do all things by being God and being grateful to the Father. I am one with the Father, but the Father is greater than I. See, here she is, her affirmations, affirming that inner authority in all cases. She's moving to that greater reality, that greater knowing, right? And she says here, I am the unlimited and infinite source. That's why I can help lots of people and animals to have better lives. So she was talking about that her family gives back and they're helping families and other families and animals. And what she said, what she found is that she's even getting more back as they do that. And of course, that's the law of giving and receiving. It's all unity. This is what Scripture says. Give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over. That's what she's experiencing. Very powerful. We're going to get to this today. But in all cases, here's what I want to do. I want to thread what the theme is, what the common power is, so you can step into this in your own lives, right? In all cases, they're not trying to convince or change the 3D personality to make it believe or make something happen. Do you see it? They're giving that up altogether. They're not trying to convince the small personality, the doubter, the one that's in fear, to make it believe, but they're resting in their inner authority of I am. We're going to show this. I'm going to specifically show you how this client stepped through this process in this miracle car repair, because how this reality shift happens. I'm going to diagram it for you today, how we shift realities and what it really looks like, right? And this is what Scripture says. Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words that I speak to you, I do not speak on my own authority, from my 3D personality, from that lower me, from the physical me, right? But the Father who dwells in me, the inner authority of I am, right? The Father who dwells in me does the works. Your inner authority, that higher power, does the works. This is in all cases what happened. Let's take a look how this works, because this is powerful. So I wanted to diagram this to really show you. Remember, we always look at reality as these frames or moments of experiences in that ultimate reality. Change in the changeless reality. All of those are frames of reality or images, and all images and all frames exist in that eternity archive, and eternity film roll archive, right? And then we thread these and create stories around these frames of reality to create lifelines or horizontal experiences in that greater reality, right? So here you are in your reality as you walk through, the 3D you walks through this horizontal experience. And I wanted to show you, the dotted black frame is the potential past frame. The dotted blue frame is the potential present frame. And the dotted violet or pink frame is the potential future frame. That because all of these frames of reality are always in potential. Even the current frame that you're looking through right now, it's still potential to be anything you want. Do you see it? It's always, these frames are always changing in all time. The past frame, the current frame, and the future frame are all changing according to your assumptions and beliefs, according to the lens that you're looking through, right? Think of this, the brown stick, man, that's your potential identity. That's always changing into whatever you want. When it firms into this, that's your present identity. This is you having a 3D experience. That's the present you. Past, present, and future. As you walk in that horizontal experience, right? And then you have that potential future identity or future reality that you're lighting up. Do you see it? Here's the past frame, the future frame, the current frame, the present frame, and the future frame. All of those frames are in potential. All of them are changing as you have this horizontal 3D experience. You believe that past you and that past reality is fixed, that present you is fixed and solid. And then you imagine a better future, or you imagine what you want. Or sometimes you're imagining the worst, but whatever, you're imagining some future potential identity, some future reality. But as you imagine things the way you want them to be, as you light up that future frame, do you see it as that potential identity in those potential frames start changing? In that moment, as you're walking through the physical experience, as you believe in that higher authority, that inner authority, as you imagine the future the way you want it, as you affirm it the way you want it, whatever process you do, as you script it, you light up that future frame. But remember, you don't not only change the future, hear this, you change all identities of you in all time. Do you see it? And so you move to that new reality, where that now becomes what your solid experience, or what you feel is that your solid experience. You move to that future identity. This is how she shifted, how each case, all of them shifted realities in all those stories. And I'm going to show this today. Do you see it? And you move to this experience. This now becomes your 3D experience. That the past frame that was in potential becomes in that identity that was in potential, becomes the lens through which you're seeing reality. That new you, that new version, you change the past. You're now that version of the past. You're now that version in the present, and you're now that version in the future. You see it as you walk again on a new timeline through 3D reality, right? There's your past, and so as you do that, right, you move to a new timeline, then that past frame, right? That past frame then moves to a past. And then that present frame now moves to a present past. And then that future frame now becomes your current frame. And then you have a new future frame. Do you see it? We're always shifting frames. That's the experience of time, right? Where our awareness shifts to the next frame of reality. As you shift to your future frame, that present frame goes in the past. That past frame goes into the past. But it's all based on this new identity. You've changed everything here. Do you see it? And then again, as you walk through in your new experience, in your new reality, those frames are now potential again, based on your new assumptions, based on your new beliefs. That's powerful. I just want to show this a little bit. So again, every frame or every experience right now is in potential. Although we have a 3D experience of it appearing solid. In the past, identity seems solid. The present identity seems solid. And the future identity feels like something it is within our imagination. It's something we're either hoping for or affirming or imagining. But as we do imagine it, as we affirm it, as we script it. We light up, those frames get lit up, those frames that seem solid. That potential now starts changing. And you're not changing just your present situation or your future, but you're changing all time, even the present frame. As you adopt a new identity, a new reality, who you say you are, that changes who you were. Do you see it? It changes all time, right? It changes it because all frames exist right now. All realities exist. All potential realities exist. All versions of you. So you're no longer looking at your past self through those limitations. You're looking at your past self as something different. That future you now, that new you, is in all time, in all realities as you walk through this. You see it? And so that past frame that you thought was so solid now moves to the past. As you see yourself differently. That present frame moves to the past as you move your awareness. That future frame now becomes the present frame in your new identity as you walk through time and space. That's powerful. We'll get back to this. So the question is, all of these are in potential as you walk through that 3D experience, right? All frames, past, present, and future, are in potential now. Right? That's what the dotted line means. And all identities. That's your identity, potential identity. But you're having a 3D experience that past you seems very solid. The present you seems very solid. The future you doesn't seem solid. You're imagining it, you're affirming it, you're hoping for it. Right? But all of them are in potential and they're all changing. So as in this story, she had an accident. And she started to pull off the road thinking the person that hit her was going to follow her. That person took off. So she goes to a body shop, right? So here's the current frame, accident. There's an accident and there's an appearance of damage. So here's the current frame she's in. Here's remember, she's having this experience, 3D reality. This is what she believes happened here, right? But that frame's always in potential. And that frame is going to change based on what her story is, what your story is. Are you going to believe that there was an accident with damage? Because remember, immediately that present frame moves to the past. You could start saying, well, I had an accident today, and they took off. And now you're creating a solid past that has an accident. Or you can create a future frame or a future right now that changes all time and say there was no accident, there was no damage, the car was perfect. What are you going to light up? Right? The horizontal linear assumption is based on appearances out there. Right? You're looking out there and saying, yeah, there was an accident. That's my story. Remember that we're talking about the recent past, right? We're always in the new present moment. So whatever we're telling a story about is the past now. Right? And so you can tell that there was an accident with damage, or there was no accident, it was perfect damage. The horizontal linear experience based on appearances out there versus the vertical timeless assumption based on imagining in your consciousness within. What are you going to imagine? Right? So all frames exist in potential. But even while you're following the script and having that horizontal linear experience, right, you can still light up the future and tell the new story. Even as you're looking there and you see the appearance of damage. You saw that person took off. You experienced that person hitting you. Yet you're going to tell the new story that there's no accident, it's all perfect. Do you see it? Even as you're walking through that horizontal experience, you're going to light up that future. You're going to tell it the way you want to tell it. That's powerful. Hold on to that, right? So let's move on here. And here you are again. As you move through 3D reality, you feel like there was an experience. She heads to the body shop. So she's following the script. She's going to the body shop. But as she goes to the body shop, she's telling the new story. Right? Remember, that new story transcends all time, past, present, and future. Right? So she can either tell the new story, that there was no accident, everything is fine, even as she's following the script and going to the body shop to get it checked out, to get it repaired. She's telling the new story. In other words, do you see it? That past frame now becomes that new identity. The current frame becomes that new identity. The future frame becomes that new identity. And then you're lighting up again a new future. Do you see it? It all moves. Or you can tell the old story that, there was an accident. And she could go to the body shop and keep telling that story to everyone. There was an accident, they took off, telling everyone. As you do that, then you solidify that past story. Do you see how this is solid here? With the black, that's the past story. That's the facts based on 3D appearances. And then that present frame also moves to the recent past, where that you continue to tell that story. Right? And then the future frame becomes that present reality. That's your story. You got in the car accident, there was damage. And then again, you can light up a new future from that old story, but it becomes the same old identity. Do you see it? No matter what, you're that same identity. You're not the new identity because you're telling the same story. You're the old identity here, you're the same identity here, you're the same identity here. Your identity didn't change into what you wanted to imagine it to be. Right? You could be here wishing that the accident didn't happen, wishing that there was no damage. Right? You can imagine that, but if you're telling the old story, you don't move to that new reality. You don't move to that new identity. Instead, you shift realities, but it looks a lot like the old reality or the current reality that you're experiencing. It's the same identity or a similar identity. So you experience the same reality, right? You don't move into this new potential identity. Do you see that? The old story of how 3D conditions appear to be, keep creating, keep assuming, and keep occupying a similar state, an identity and version of yourself that looks a lot like the past. It looks a lot like that old identity. Do you see that here? That's powerful. So, how she shifted identities or realities to her desired outcome or her end. There was the accident, initial thoughts of anger, frustration, and she felt them. So even as she had the accident, as someone went into her, it's not that you're not going to have a reaction sometimes or not think some thoughts that don't feel good. She had all that. But what did she do? She moved to her new story immediately, right? Told her desired new story. No accident, no damage, all is well. I'm God. I'm source. There is no other, right? What I assume and say is so. Absolute conviction and acceptance of her new reality. While, this is important, while still moving and walking through the script, going to the body shop. She's not resisting anything. She's going to go to the body shop, right, to even get it repaired, even as she was declaring that there's no repairs to do, even as she was declaring that there were no repairs. That's powerful. She followed the script. She didn't resist the appearances. She just became indifferent to them, right? And so she took it to a body shop, spent a short time while they were working on it. They came back to her to say, you're all set. It was all buffed out. They buffed it out. There was no damage. And they didn't charge her. She couldn't believe it. There was no damage. What was left was a small scratch. And I'm going to get to the small scratch in a minute. But they buffed it all out. It looked like new. And she said she took a picture of it. Right? She took a picture of that damage. Right? Not knowing that would provide an interesting evidence of her shift in realities. Right? In her mind, there was real damage there. But as she told the new story, she went to that higher reality. She knew that she could transcend time and space. She knew she could call that new reality forth. She continued in the new reality. And she even showed her brother the car and told her what she did. And then he looked, and it looked like the scratch was still there. It looked like there was still evidence of that accident. Then her brother just starts rubbing the scratch. And then the scratch disappears. It was just a mark. It wasn't a scratch. She literally buffed out her undesirable realities. Right? The body shop buffed out her undesirable realities. In other words, she erased that unwanted reality. That's really powerful. I want to show this. So now that you got the story, I want to go back to this. Because remember, let's just show this here. Remember, as you walk through your 3D experience, and even as you light up how you want things to be, whether you're imagining it and affirming it, or you're just hoping for it. We're always hoping for some future self, some future reality. But remember, as you do that, so if we're coming from the belief that the past is fixed, that even the present is fixed, but I have a shot at changing the future, well, then we're still believing in that old identity. We don't shift to that new reality. We shift to that same identity. Do you see it? That's it. That brown is that same present identity. We move to that. But because these are all in potential, as you tell a new story the way you want things, then you move to that new reality. Then that now becomes what appears to be your new solid experience, but from the new identity. But not just in the present and future, but in all time. You now look at the past through the lens of that new future you. And it shifts all time. And then the frames shift. That past frame shifts to the past. The present frame shifts to the present past, right? The recent past, the recent story. And the future frame shifts to your present. As you remember, what is the experience of time? It's the experiencing change in the changeless. It's your awareness moving to the next frame of reality, where the previous frame goes into what you call the past. We know it's all happening right now. That's why it's all potential right now to change anything. But we have the experience that it moves into what we call the past. But we know all of this is happening right now. Do you see it? And so now you're in that past. You got the recent past, you got the present and the future. And you light up that new future. That's powerful. And again, this is her having that experience, right? But she decides to tell the new story, right? What's your story? Because all of this, the past, present, and future frames, the recent past, all of that can be changed by that new story. All frames, past, present, and future, are in potential right now, right? That's what that dotted line means. Then even while you're following the script in that horizontal experience, you're changing it by telling the story of how you want things to be. Not telling the story of that there was an accident with damage, but there was no accident. The car's perfect, right? It's that horizontal linear assumption or experience on appearances looking out there versus the vertical timeless assumption based on imagination, based on affirmations, based on your consciousness within. And then you move. As you move to either that new story or the old story. Do you see it? Either you continue to perpetuate the same identity or the same reality or one that looks like it. Remember, you're always moving realities. As Abraham Hicks says, same places, same faces, right? But the same old, or new places, new faces, but the same old experience, right? So you're moving here, old story, right? But you're telling the old story so that identity doesn't change. Or it looks a lot like your current identity. But as you tell the new story, you change all time. You transcend all time. That new identity, you now see the past through that new identity. That's who you are now. And that moves you to your desired end. Her desired end? To see there was no accident. There was no damage. There's no evidence. There's not a trace of that accident. Right? Do you see it? The old story of how 3D conditions appear to be keep you creating, assuming, and occupying a similar state of reality or version of yourself that looks a lot like the past or the present reality. Your new story transcends it all. And that's what she did. She transcended it. She shifted it all. She told the new story, right? They buffed it out. And then even her brother, even evidence that there was an accident, as he rubbed it, it just disappeared. The whole thing didn't happen. She shifted realities and erased those undesired conditions. When? Right now. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on videos. Thank you for being part of our Facebook group. That's growing really fast at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful, for joining our Instagram and Twitter. We're also growing. You can find us there at Tom Kearin. And also our membership channel. If you've joined, thank you for joining. If you haven't joined, check it out. There's new content coming on that. There's that video that I mentioned in that story earlier in the video where that video was posted a few days ago, maybe about a week ago now, where we told her story, how she changed her whole life through the law of assumption. That's on there. There's also a live stream that we had just 2 weeks ago. There's another live stream that I'm working on that I'm going to plan for the membership channel, so check it out. Creators, with great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, this is Tom coming to you from the studios of Be Something Wonderful in Las Vegas. We'll see you soon.